Welcome to a press conference at the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. My name is Teddy Jimbo. I co-chair the committee that organized the media events such as this one today, and I'm your moderator today. We have a distinguished speaker, Nobuyuki Matsutake. I'm sure he made a headline recently many times, so you might know who he is. But he's a long-time Communist Party member for 48 years. He has worked in the Central Committee of the party at its headquarters in Yoyogi, and he now work for a publisher in Kyoto called Kamogawa Shuppan. Of course, he's a loyal Communist Party member, but his belief came to disagreement with the party back in 2005, I believe. And there are two contentious issues that he has about the party's current leadership and policy platform. One is the self-defense force and the status of self-defense force and the U.S.-Japan Security Treaty. As you know, the Communist Party still remain against those two. Though recently the chairman Shi became somewhat ambiguous about those two topics, but still party basically opposes the security treaty and possessing the self-defense force because it's unconstitutional. But Matsutake-san believes that Japan should make a good use of the self-defense force and the U.S.-Japan Security Treaty. So that's one disagreement, and another big disagreement was basically it's actually based on the first disagreement. But he believes that the party's chairman should be elected by the party members. Currently, under the existing system, the chairman is selected by the Central Committee that consists of some 200 delegates of the party members. But it's selected behind a closed door. But he believes that the chairman should be elected in an open election of its members, its party members. So they are the two major contentious issues that, and then he expressed his belief in his book, and also he began to speak out. Then just this month, the party expelled him, citing he disobeyed the bylaws of the party. And the party remains that they don't want to have an open election because open election will inevitably create intra-party factions, and forming intra-party factions is prohibited by its bylaws. So that's basically the bottom line of why his belief was not accepted. But anyway, now that he's expelled from the party, he's demanding that his party membership to be restored, and he still strongly insists on those two issues: the self-defense force (SDF) and the security treaty, as well as the open elections. So he wants to explain why such a long-time loyal member of the party now defies the party's official policy stance and even fights publicly against the party leadership. So please welcome Nobuyuki Matsutake. Matsutake-さん、よろしくお願いします。はい。
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak at this press conference. Moment, please. 日本語でオンラインで聞いている方には私の 日本語、私のホームページ、私の名前で検索していただければ日本語が出てきますので、ぜひそれをご覧になってください。20分のスピーチの後は同時通訳が入ります。
はい、スピーチをじゃあ英語でなさると、それで日本語訳はホームページにあるので見てくださいということと、あと Q&A は日本語でやられるということです。Okay, go ahead.
So the speech will be made in English, but for those participating, especially online, who would like to get the Japanese text, please look for my homepage. You can look for my name, and then you can hit my blog, and there you can see the text.
And the interpreter is Fujioka-san. お願いします。
As you all know, I was recently expelled from the Japanese Communist Party because I published a book calling on the party to adopt a system to elect its leader through a direct vote by its members, and expressed my intention to run if such an election takes place. I am seeking reinstatement of my membership and preparing to request that my expulsion be reconsidered at the JCP Congress in January next year. To be honest, I don't understand why foreign media wanted me to speak here, or what they are interested in regarding my problem. My sense is that the people's interest in the Communist Party has dropped, as Communist parties in many countries have experienced setbacks or even dissolved themselves after the Cold War was over. What's going on around me may be seen by people outside as a trivial matter taking place inside the JCP. But I seriously think that the JCP's role is indispensable for developing a countervailing force against liberal democratic party politics. For this reason, I believe that it is essential for the JCP to remake itself, and that party leadership election through a direct vote by its members is a crucial means of such reform. I want to take this opportunity to talk about why I think the Japanese Communist Party has such a crucial role, and about what reforms are needed. I'm sure that all media people present here know that the JCP many years ago established the position of sovereign independence and rejected orders from the Communist Party of Soviet Union or any other foreign party. In the 1980s, I was international secretary of the Democratic Youth League of Japan, the youth organization guided by the JCP. At the international meeting, in the presence of Soviet representatives, I criticized their country for its role in the arms race and demanded the pull-out of the Soviet troops from Afghanistan. On such occasions, I faced a fierce criticism from Eastern European and pro-Soviet participants. The JCP instructed me to reject any such criticism. When the Soviet Union collapsed, the JCP did not follow suit thanks to its members, taking pride in the party that criticized the hegemony of the Soviet Union more severely than anyone else. By refusing to uncritically follow the Soviet Union or China, the JCP has explored and established the path for political change on its own in accordance with the actual conditions of Japan. The immediate task the party chose to tackle was one of aiming to build a full-fledged democratic society instead of advancing directly to socialism. This strategy was an important decision in winning wider popular support and establishing cooperation with other parties. The JCP now stands at a major crossroads in terms of both political and organization policies. I decided to declare my candidacy for the party leadership because I thought that JCP will be able to be a key player for changing Japanese politics if it successfully reforms itself on two fronts. Let me explain how. On the political front, at issue is what to do with the Japan-US Security Treaty and the Japan Self-Defense Forces. The JCP's program and the Congress resolutions envisage a future for Japan without the Japan-US Security Treaty and the Self-Defense Force. I agree with this direction. Military alliance, source of military tensions, as clear from the fact that Russia used NATO's eastward expansion as a pretext of its invasion of Ukraine. It is imperative to do away with the military alliance everywhere in the world and establish a collective security system led by the United Nations. And communism, envisaged by Karl Marx, is about society without state power and without military forces. Needless to say, it is ideal to make the self-defense forces unnecessary. But the question is what to do with the Japan-US Security Treaty and the self-defense forces in a transition period leading to midterm or long-time stages. That exactly trouble for the JCP, and I raised this issue in my recent book. The JCP Congress resolution envisaged the path toward a society without military forces in 3 stages. In the first stage, the Japan-US Security Treaty and the self-defense forces will continue to exist, just as it is supported by the party program. But neither the party program nor the Congress resolution gives any further details. In my book, I propose that the JCP should adopt an exclusively defensive posture without depending on nuclear deterrence. The JCP criticized this proposal. They say that Matsuke is calling for the Japan-US Security Treaty to be maintained, that he calls for the self-defense forces to be treated as constitutional, that the exclusively defense posture is unconstitutional, and that Matsuke's position is in contravention of the party program. This criticism appears to be a cause of my expulsion. But the JCP and I are not far apart on this issue. For example, the exclusively defense posture is nothing but an approach that allows the self-defense forces to resort to minimum counterattack against aggression. That's exactly what the JCP decided at its Congress in 2000. What's more, Chairperson Shikazo on April 7, 2022, stated that the JCP is in favor of the position that if the country has faced imminent and unlawful infringement of sovereignty, Japan should use the self-defense forces and all other means available to defend people's rights and national sovereignty. Also, regarding the Japan-US Security Treaty, there is no major difference between the JCP and me. On October 29, 2015, when Mr. Shi spoke at this Foreign Correspondent Club of Japan, he was asked by a reporter if the JCP would call for the security treaty to be invoked in the event of an emergency in Japan. Mr. Shi's answer was that the country should respond by invoking Article 5 of the Security Treaty. In his recent book about the JCP program, he says, I quote, "The security treaty can't be abrogated, and we will not abrogate it without support from a majority of the Japanese people. So please be assured," unquote. In the same book, Mr. Shi explained how to deal with the self-defense forces under the Japanese Constitution as follows. He said, and I quote, "If opposition parties establish a coalition government, its constitutional judgment will be the self-defense forces are constitutional," unquote. He also said, and I quote, "Even if a JCP-led democratic coalition government is established, it will treat the self-defense forces as constitutional as long as they exist during the transition period," unquote. There is probably one difference between Mr. Shi and me. He said the Japan-US Security Treaty would be invoked and the self-defense forces used if Japan is attacked during the first stage. But the JCP's basic policy says that the security treaty would be abrogated and the self-defense forces dissolved in that stage. I'm saying that his explanation can't convince the people. I urge that if he thinks that the security treaty and the self-defense forces are available, the JCP should establish a policy accordingly. I'm calling for exclusively defensive posture without depending on nuclear deterrence. I'm just trying to bring the JCP out of mess. There is a cause for the JCP's confusion. The party is carrying out activities based on the program revised in 2004 and 2020. But negative effect of the 1961 program still persists. The 1961 program is a product of Cold War era. It said that the U.S. imperialism violates Japan's independence and sovereignty and is pursuing a war policy around the world using Japan as a stepping stone. It also defined the Soviet Union-led socialist camp as a pacifist. This view inevitably leads to the conclusion that the party's immediate central task is to abrogate the Japan-US Security Treaty. However, in real politics after World War II, the Soviet Union as well as United States started war and oppressed peoples around the world. I said earlier that JCP firmly criticized the Soviet Union's errors. But the end of the Cold War compelled the JCP to fundamentally review its programmatic position. The present JCP program still defines the United States as imperialist. But unlike the old one, it also says, I quote, "It should be noted that an attempt to solve international dispute through diplomatic negotiations has shown itself in United States reaction to international issues," unquote. It characterized the collapse of the Soviet Union as the downfall of the historical and colossal evil of Soviet hegemonism. Apparently, with China and some other countries in mind, it also criticizes great power chauvinism and hegemonism. Major changes have taken place in the world since the end of World War II. The first stage, in which the security treaty and self-defense forces exist, is expected to last very long. Given the fact that the JCP program has been revised in line with the change taking place in the world, the party should stop calling for the abrogation of the security treaty and the dissolution of the self-defense forces as the basic policy for the first stage. It should put forward a new policy in conformity with the changes taking place in the world situation. Even as we are prepared for Taiwan contingency, we must avoid allowing the Japan-US security treaty to turn Japan into battlefield. But we also must take a hard look at the fact that China, a country of self-proclaimed communism, hold fast to policy of using military forces to liberate Taiwan. The primary task is for the JCP to persuade China to give up such policy. If the JCP changes in this direction, it will earn public trust and provide common ground for working with other opposition parties to share a government. The JCP is called upon to make far-reaching reforms of organization policy. You may have been surprised to know that I do not criticize democratic centralism in my book. I just want to see the JCP introduce an election system for a party leader through a direct vote by the party members. The aim being to help overcome the problem of facing the party. The JCP has adopted democratic centralism for historical reasons. The Russian Revolution was the source of the emergence of communist parties around the world. In addition to this historical fact, the JCP had to undergo split over a long period of time in connection with suppression by the occupation forces after World War II. But if the JCP is to become closer to the public, it is necessary to fundamentally review the way party organization works. If foreign media journalists visit party branches, which are basic unit at the workplace or local communities, they will see party members with individuality and freedom. At the branch which I belonged to, members were free to discuss anything. In a meeting after the party's election losses, some said Xi's leadership is too long. He should be advised to step down. In branch discussion on policies on diplomacy, defense, economics, social security, and other issues, party members can express differing opinions within the framework of the party program. And the fact is that the party has more than 2,000 local assembly members who exert their individuality while maintaining close ties with residents. But the party constitution says party members must not publicly discuss internal problems. The rule keeps the party's diversity invisible. The party is often considered as a monolithic organization that does not tolerate dissenting opinions, distancing itself from the public. A direct board for party leadership will allow party members to discuss differences in policy and help overcome the present shortcomings. The party center says that the direct vote by party members would encourage moves to win majority and give rise to faction or splinter groups. There may emerge groups made of people who share similar policy ideas, but that may not cause any problems if those groups accept the election result. On the contrary, active debate during the election can bring vigor to party activities. Communist Party members will not go into factional activities even if a leadership election is held. I want the party center to trust party members. The party would suspend the application of democratic centralism during the party leader election campaign period. If the direct vote by party members proves to have a positive impact on the party, it might be carried on. If the party concludes that such an election has a rather negative impact on the party activities, it can go back to the existing system. In reforming the 100-year-old system, it is essential to allow party members to decide through hand-on experience. My appeal was not heard by the party center. While most party members are supportive of the position of the party center, but there are people who have empathy with my opinion. Some people have told me they would quit the party. I asked them to stay in the party and become delegates to the party congress in January next year. If my expulsion is reconsidered and overturned in the next party congress, the JCP will be able to take first step toward major party reforms. Even though there may be a very low possibility that it will happen, I will do all I can to open the slightest possibility. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Masake. So we're going to go to Q&A. So please raise your hand, and if you're designated, come forward. There are two microphones on both ends of the front table, and cite your name and affiliation, and please just ask questions. Let me take the liberty of asking the first question. 松崎さん、じゃあ最初の質問、私の方から。はい。So now you filed a motion to restore your status as a member of the party, and your motion will be taken up in the party congress in January. What do you expect to happen? Do you have like fellow party members who support you, and you think the party's central committee will listen to those voices and restore your membership? If there's any chances for that? And in addition, if you happen to be able to run against Shi-san in the party election, party head election, what do you think of your chances of winning?
はい、まず、現在、党員資格の回復を求めていらっしゃるということで、来年の1月に、それが党大会で取り上げられるということなんですが、他にも他の党員の方々がですね、松竹さんを支持するというふうにお思いでしょうか。また、中央委員会はそれに対してそういう声をちゃんと聞いてくれて、党員資格を回復する除名決定を撤回するという決定をする可能性はどれぐらいあるんでしょうか。またもしも、公選制の党首選挙が行われる場合、松竹さんが立候補されて、そして党首に選ばれる可能性というのはどれぐらいあるとお考えでしょうか。
党員の中で松竹さんの主張がどれくらい支持を受けているかということですね、1点目は。はい、
なんといっても27万人の党員がおりまして、で、私は直接に自分の支部に所属している党員以外とそういうことを語り合うことが許されてないものですからわからないところは多いですけれども、少なくとも SNS などでの共産党員、あるいはその地方議員を名乗る方の投稿を見ればもちろん私を批判する投稿もたくさんありますけども、同時に私に理解を示してくれる投稿もそれなりにある。でもそういうことがSNS 上で可視化されているっていうのはこれまでの共産党の歴史の中ではなかったことで歓迎すべき変化だと思います。
ちょっと通訳入れてください。
Yes, there are 270,000 party members, but I'm not allowed to discuss this issue outside the branch that I belong to. But if you see the social media, there are, the party members and also the local assembly persons who have talked about my issue. And of course, there are a lot of criticism, but I also see a substantial number of people who empathize with me. And the fact that this is now become visible through the social media is something that has never happened in the history of the JCP, and which is, I think, a welcome change.
それで私を批判する声がそれなりに存在することは確かですけども、同時にそれ以上に今回除名ということに踏み切った、共産党にとってこうやって本を出して党に改革を求めたっていうだけで除名されるような事件ってこの何十年間なかったことなので、本当にそんなやり方でいいのかっていうふうに思っている人の方がたくさんいるとは思います。で、ただそれがその大会に集まってくる人たちの多数の声になるかはなかなか難しいところはあるかなとは思います。
Yes, there are many people who voiced criticism against me, but more than that, there are more people who thought that the party's decision to expel me just because I published a book that calls for party reform was something that the party should reconsider. However, that said, I don't know, whether those people will be the majority of the delegates who attend the party congress, that I don't know.
で、最後の党首公選が実現したとして私が立候補して志位さんに勝てるかという話ですけれども、私はその勝つ勝たないということよりもその党の安全保障政策の在り方みたいなものを党首公選をすることを通じて党員の中で活発に議論を起こすということが一番大事なことだと考えていて、で、私と志位さんって、そういう点で言うと先ほど述べたようにそんなに大きな違いはないんですね。その自衛隊とか日米安保はずっと否定してきた立場だけども、しかし野党共闘の中でそこに修正を加えざるを得なくなった、その志位さんの苦渋というか この難しさを私も感じていて、そこに行こうとしている。でも共産党員の多数は日米安保も即時廃棄で自衛隊なんか絶対認められないっていう人が多数で、だからおそらくそういう人の中から立候補者が出ればそういう人が圧勝してしまうかもしれない、でも政党としてそれでいいのかっていうことを党首公選を実施することを通じて議論をして、共産党員がそこからその政党の党員としての自分の考え方をこう鍛えていくというか発展させていくということを期待して立候補を表明しているということです。
And whether I can win over Mr. Shi if the open election system is introduced, the question is not whether I can win or not. The most important thing is that this kind of discussion taking place through the leadership election campaign will bring vigor to the party, and that is very important. And actually, as I said before, there is not much difference between Mr. Shi and me in terms of the self-defense forces and the Japan-U.S. security treaty. Both of us have denied those two for a very long time. But in terms of how we can form an oppositional coalition government, Mr. Shi had to step further into that current position that he has, and I imagine that he had to agonize over it. However, the majority of the party members are against the U.S.-Japan security treaty and against the self-defense forces, and therefore, if there is some candidate who represents such a voice of the parties, will have a landslide victory in the election of the leader. But the question is, then is it okay as a political party? And by having, discussions through the election campaigns, each and every party member will be able to reconsider his or her own standing and the way of thinking, and further develop their thinking about those issues, I think.
So aren't you saying that if open election is to be introduced, more radical members of Communist Party is likely to win, and isn't that against your wish? 結局じゃあ公選制になればより共産党のより原理主義的な主張を持ったその人間がむしろその代表に選ばれてしまう可能性が高いということは、むしろ松竹さんの考えとは相入れないというか、その逆の効果を持つことにはなりませんかという質問です。
だから要するにそういう大事な問題が共産党の中でほとんど議論されてこなかったということが一番大きな問題で、でも同時に共産党員は本当に9条を大事にして安保も廃棄して自衛隊解消したいと思ってるけども、同時にやっぱり共産党の党員としては共産党が政権に就くということも真剣に考えている、そこを議論すればね、私はおのずから、自分の思想信条はあっても共産党としてどういう態度を取るかということについては新しいこのステージに行くんじゃないかなって思ってます。
はい、お願いします。
Yes, that exactly is the most important issue. That this issue has not been discussed within the party, and that is the most important issue. The party members would like to uphold the Article 9 and might be for the abrogation of the security treaty and for the dissolution of the SDF forces. However, if the party wants to, be in the government someday, then the party members would have to seriously think about that. Maybe putting aside their own personal beliefs, but try to find a policy that the party, as an organization, should take.
Okay, so let's go to the floor. Hold on, go ahead.
Panorama News or New Japan. Chairman Kazushi has been re-elected successfully for many terms. Do you think if the election behind closed doors, as you said, what is going on behind these closed doors? Can you explain to us exactly so we know what's going on? And do you think if it was not behind closed doors, he would lose? And related questions, do you think that if you adopt the open election for all members, you will gain more seats in the elections in Japan? Because your party always get almost the same seats all the time. It looks like cult, basically. Sorry to say this word, but I don't see big changes in your party numbers in the seats, except sometimes losing minimum. Thank you.
志位委員長は何度もこの間再選されております。で、その選挙過程は非公開であるとおっしゃいました。では、その非公開の場で一体何が起きていると思われますか。で、それから、もし公選制にしたら、志位委員長が負けるのではないかというふうにおっしゃったと思うんですけれども、で、公選制にしたら共産党がもっと議席を増やすことができるようになるでしょうか。というのは、ここずっとですね、大体共産党の獲得議席数っていうのはあまり変わっていないように思うのですが、
公選制になったら志位さんは勝てないと思いますかっていうのが、2つ目の質問ですね。はい。
共産党の党首選出システムは、現状は大会が開かれて、その大会代議員が200人ぐらいの中央委員を選びます。で、その中央委員が選ばれたら、中央委員200人ぐらいの方が、別室に移動して、でだから大会代議員の目に見えるのは、その会議が終わった人たちが戻ってきて、第1回中央委員会が開かれて、委員長は誰々さんになりましたという、報告があるだけで、だから確かにその中央委員会でどういうことが行われているのかっていうのは、大会代議員にさえ見えないと、おそらくメディアもこれまで取材を申し入れたこともおそらくないんじゃないかなと思います。今後はきっと取材させてくれっていうふうになると思いますけれども、だからそういう点でも実際に行われていることは、これはもうだからそれに参加した中央委員の方から伝え聞く限りでは、集まった中央委員会の前で、年長者みたいな方が出てきて、委員長として誰々さんを推薦します、副委員長は誰々さんですっていうことを、読み上げて、で、拍手で、確認するということが、行われているということですので、率直に言って、それがもしメディアの取材が入ることになったら、ちょっと違和感を持つ国民が多いかなと思います。だからそういう点でも、いろんな改革は求められていて、別に私はちょっとラディカルに全党員投票って言ってますけども、例えば少なくとも大会代議員は全部その党首選挙システムに関われるとか、その中央委員の推薦で選ばれたとしても、党員の信任投票にはかけるとか、いろんなやり方がやっぱりあって、だからそういう点では現実にあって、少しでも党員国民の目にも見えるし、党員の権利も保障されるみたいな改革は積み重ねていくべきだと思っております。で、公選になって、
通訳をこれで聞いてください。はい。
The current system is that at the Congress, the delegates will first choose the 200 members of the Central Committee, and these Central Committee members will move to a separate room, and behind the closed doors to the delegates, they will decide, and then they will come back, and they announce that we have held the Central Committee first meeting, and the chairperson is this and this, is this person. And so even the delegates do not know what's happening behind doors. And I'm sure there has been no media who asked for the coverage, asked to be there in the process of the election. What I heard from members of the Central Committee is that a senior person or senior persons will appear in that meeting and then say that I recommend this person to be a chairperson of the committee, and then that will be then approved by those who are present. But if there is any media present in such a room, I'm sure a lot of the Japanese people will find that very odd and unacceptable. And I propose the open election, direct vote by all party members, but there can be many different ways. For example, at least the delegates should be involved in certain way, or the Central Committee can recommend the chairperson, but that has to be put to a vote of confidence by party members. There is different ways, I think. And if so, then the process may be more visible to the public eye, and then the party members' rights can also be guaranteed.
それとその公選にしたら、どんな結果が出るかということについては、本当にその共産党の中で27万人の党員を巻き込んで徹底的な議論が行われるんだったら、いろんな可能性があると私は思います。例えば共産党の、一番戦後の共産党を作ったのは宮本賢治さんという方で、何十年も党首をやった方ですけども、その宮本さんは実はその共産党が先ほどちょっと言いましたけど分裂した時期に少数派で九州の方に左遷をされて、全国の党組織から宮本は分派だと除名しろみたいな決議がもう全国の党組織で挙げられるぐらい追い詰められたんだけれども、しかしそれではダメだっていう党内の徹底的な議論を通じてすごい少数派だった方が、党首にまでねなった。だからそういう点では議論を通じて、いろんな可能性、もちろん C さんが当選する可能性もあれば、もしかしたら私がそれだけの議論をすればやることになる可能性だってあると思います。でそしてそうやって要するにその共産党っていうのは他の政党と同じようにそうやっていろんな考え方が存在している政党なのに、国民の目にはなんかすごくモノトーンな多様性のない政党として映ってるっていうことが国民から遠い存在になって思われている。そこが共産党の支持が議席が増えないっていう点でね、一つの障害になっているので、そこを克服することにもなると思います。
Yes. If a thorough discussion takes place involving all 270,000 party members, then there can be many different possibilities. For example, the Kenji Miyamoto, who was a party leader for many decades in the post-war period, he once was deemed a splinter or the faction within the party. He was in the minority position at some point. And then there were many resolutions adopted from different organizations around Japan to expel him because he was involved in the splinter activities. However, after thorough discussions that took place after that, that didn't happen, and eventually he became the party leader. So if these thorough discussions take place within the party, there can be many possibilities. Mr. Shi might be re-elected, or I might be elected. And And actually, there is a diverse views within the party, but to the public eye, the JCP looks like a monolithic organization, doesn't have any diversity or doesn't allow any diversity. So that's one of the reasons why the JCP is kind of seemed distant from the public. But if we can overcome that point, then we may be able to gain more support from the public.
もう一つ彼が聞いた公選制を導入すれば国会の議席が増えると思いますかというのは。
それは最後のだから言ったことなんですけども、要するに公選制を導入して共産党の中にいろんな考え方の人がいるということが国民に伝われば、国民にとっては共産党ってもっと近い存在になるって、議席はまあ少しは増えるんじゃないかなっていうふうには思います。
Yes, and I do believe that if we can introduce an open leadership election system, then if the public understands that there are a variety of views within the party, then the people will be able to feel rather close to the party, and that might help, the party will be able to gain more seats eventually.
しかも今この自民党政治が続いて、それを何とかするために野党に頑張ってほしいっていう、それなりの世論はあるわけですけれども、その立憲民主党もちょっと手たらくで期待できない。だから本当にここは共産党が変わることによって野党の協力がもうちょっと進んでほしいって感じている国民はやっぱり少なからずいると思うんですね。だからそういう点で党首公選をするっていうことも含めて共産党が変わるっていうことが国民の期待に応えて議席も増える道だっていうふうに思います。
Yes, since the LDP politics has been going on for decades, and a lot of people actually want the opposition parties to be stronger. However, the Constitutional Democratic Party has not been able to really meet the expectations of the people. And if the JCP can change, then the collaboration between the opposition party will further be stronger. So in that sense, if JCP can reform itself, including the introduction of the party leadership system, which is open, then the JCP might be able to meet the expectations of the people, and that may eventually lead to more seats.
Okay, any more questions from the floor? じゃあ工藤さんどうぞ。
J キャスの工藤と申します。2つほどお願いします。2つとも統一地方選に関連した話なんですけれども、4月にやってきますと。で松竹さんの件があって非常にその共産党について、メディアの露出が増えているわけですね。でその志位さんは先日の、演説で、事実をねじ曲げた反共キャンペーンはみんなで力を合わせて打ち破ろうと、こういった紙面がその赤旗さんにも、大きく出ると。でこういった状況でですね、その共産党にこの松竹さんの件をめぐる動きがどういう影響を与えるのか、例えば2つ可能性あると思っていて、無党派層が離れていく面がある一方で、党内は例えばですけど、運動量が増えて、地盤が引き締まるというか、そういうところがあるかどうか、そのあたり今回の件で、どういった影響があるとご覧になっているか、これが一つです。でもう2つ目なんですけれども、松竹さん自身はこの統一地方選どう望まれるかということですね。もうすでに除名されてしまっているわけですけれども、実はこの密かに仲のいい方を応援するですとか、いやそれとも何もせずに、距離を取っていらっしゃるですとか、そのあたりどういったご予定でいらっしゃいますでしょうか。以上2点です。
I have two questions concerning the upcoming local elections in April. The first of all, because of your issue, there has been more frequent coverage about the JCP on the media. And according to Akahata, Mr. Shi has said that let's overcome this anti-communism campaign, which distorts the facts. So my question, first of all, is that how do you think your issue is going to impact the JCP in terms of the election? Does it alienate some independent voters, or does it rather consolidate party members in face of this perceived issue that they have to overcome? The second issue is that how are you going to what are you going to do for the local election, you personally, although you have been expelled, but are you going to rally for a certain person of your acquaintance in the election campaign, or will you not do anything?
一つ目の問題について言いますと、率直に言ってこのまま進めば工藤さんがおっしゃった最初の可能性、の方に傾いてしまうっていうのが率直なところで、そういうことは私も想定もしていなかったというか、何らかの本を出せばハレーションはあるかなとは思っていて、だから出版社には選挙の終わった5月に出すか、あるいはその選挙の影響を避けるために1月にするかみたいなことを相談をしまして、1月だったら多少何かあっても選挙の本番には影響ないんじゃないかなと思ってたら、そういう予想をちょっと裏切るようなことになって、なんていうか、だから大変苦慮しているってしか言いようが なくて、現実味がないのであんまりこんなこと言っては仕方ないんですけども、それこそ何かこの処分について見直しをして、なんか別のところで言いましたけれども、私と C さんが握手するような場面ぐらい作れないかななんてことはちょっと考えますけれども、現実味のないことだなって、そういう点ではちょっと無力感みたいなものを抱えているということですね。で、2つ目の問題も、それと関わりますけれども、私としてもどうしても今度の地方選挙で通ってほしい知人とか友人とかいまして、その中には若くてね、初めて共産党に入って挑戦しようっていうふうに思ってくれた人もいて、できれば応援しに行きたいなっていう気持ちはあるんです。で、逆にこんな世論状況だからこそ、私が応援演説でもすれば支持者が広がるんじゃないかなっていうぐらいのことは思うんですけど、逆にそれはね、共産党にとっては許されないことなので、これもなすすべがないっていうことで苦しんでいるっていうのは率直なところです。
Yes, for the first question, indeed, if things stand as they are right now, then that might alienate independent voters. And this is something that I didn't envisage, actually. And I knew that there would be some kind of impact if I publish a book. So I discussed this timing of the publication with the publisher, whether to publish it in May after the election or in January, which means that there are still some months before election. But the reaction to my book was more than I had anticipated. So I kind of don't know what to do with it. this may be unrealistic, but if this decision is recalled, and if I can shake hands with Mr. Shi on some occasion, that may make a difference. But I know that's pretty unrealistic. As for the second part, there are some friends and the people that I know who are running for the local elections, including some young people who run for the first time, that I very much like to rally for. But if I, help their election campaign, then that might attract a lot of people to come because of this attention that I have gained through this issue. But of course, that is not tolerated within the JCP. So actually, I feel very helpless right now.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I think we need to wrap up this. お一人、じゃあ最後どうぞ。
フリーランス立花と申します。志位さんが局長に選ばれた時の、党大会、私は一線記者としてフォローしてたんですけど、あの時は党内でもほとんど知られない我々取材してて、広報部長に志位さんでどういう人だって聞いたけれども、広報部長も全く知らなかったという、そういう人でしたけども、しかし共産党が非常に苦しい中で志位さんを、若手の志位さんを局長にして目くらましですけども、少なくともものすごく状況を変えようとした、そういう知恵はあったわけですよね。で、今回の場合その処分をめぐって、これは志位さんのリーダーシップでやったのか、それとも党内には何か異論があったのかですね、それも全く聞こえてきませんけれども、この苦しい局面をなんか思い切って転換しようとして、どんな知恵があり得るというふうに思っていらっしゃるのかというところ。
I actually, when I was a reporter, I actually covered Mr. Shi since he became the head of the secretariat. And actually, he was not a very known person at that time. I asked the other person of the public relations, and that person said that I actually don't know very well. So, but still, when the times were against the JCP, the party wanted to, have a young face as the leadership positions, trying to change the odds for the party. But for this particular case of yours, is it the leadership of the Mr. Shi to arrive at that decision, or were there any dissenting opinions within the party? What do you think? What kind of possibilities do you think are there in order to really break through these very hard times for the party?
率直に言って短期的に、さっきの統一地方選挙のご質問とも関わりますけども、短期的に何らか大逆転の秘策みたいなのはちょっと難しいかなと思ってます。だから先日田原総一郎さんの YouTube のチャンネルに出た時に、田原さんが C さんと松竹さんと僕と3人で食事でもしようよって、で C さんと松竹さんの対談を実現するからみたいな、でその場で握手でもしてなんとかならないかねみたいなことも言っておられましたけども、ちょっと現実味のないことだなっていうふうに思います。だから私の立場としては、ここまでね、なんていうのかな、別に私に逆風が吹いているっていうよりも共産党にね逆風が吹いている状況ですけども、それをやっぱり打開するためにも、私はやっぱり来年1月の党大会での再審査というものを重視して、本当にこういう状況、こういう共産党でいいのか、もっとね、先ほど来言ってるように国民に近い共産党になろうよって、もっと議論ができる共産党になろうよっていう訴えをして、 そこでやっぱり根本的に変えていくっていうか、さっき宮本さんの話しましたけども、本当にそれぐらいの覚悟でなんかやっていけば、その先に何か見えてくるんじゃないかなっていうふうに期待をしているっていう状況です。
In the short term, it might be very difficult to find any miracle solutions, especially in anticipation of the upcoming local elections. Actually, the other day when I appeared on the YouTube channel hosted by Mr. Tawara Soichiro, then he told me that I will realize that you will meet with the Mr. Shi, and you too have discussion over this issue, and that you will shake hands, and let's work on that, he said. But I do think that's kind of unrealistic. And actually, there are headwinds against the JCP, and how to overcome that. My focus will be then again on this party congress in January next year, so that I can, regain my party membership, and the decision is rescinded. And that will be the avenue through which I can ask the party members, do you agree about the present status of the party? Do you not want the party to be closer to the people? And do you not want the party where we can freely discuss various things? And if we can truly fundamentally change the party, then we may be able to see some silver lining over the horizon.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Matsutake. It is the club tradition that we give 1 year guest membership to our guest speakers, and here is your membership card. Okay, the press conference adjourned.